You're 16 years old. You walk by a Kingdom Hall. Today we're going to walk by a Kingdom Hall, actually go into one. What was your reaction as a Catholic thinking about Jehovah's Witness?
I used to have a girlfriend who lived probably a couple miles from my house, so I walked over there as often as I could. And as I walked to her home on Rocky River Drive in Cleveland, Ohio, I would pass a building and it said Kingdom Hall on it. And I knew Jehovah, it was all, but what I remember most vividly was my feeling about who were these people? Now remember, I'm not only Catholic, I'm 16.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the one true church. I have a pope who can't make mistakes on matters of faith and morals. I'm not only Catholic, I'm Irish Catholic. Every cardinal and bishop, at least in my limited 16-year-old vision, was Irish. Cushing. They were everywhere. Archbishop Hoban, Cleveland, confirmed me. So here, I was so grateful that I'm a Catholic and not one of these weird people in this, what goes on in there? Oogly boogly, woo, what, this is what, and the more I thought about it, if I had been politically conscious, which I hardly was at age 16, I bet I'd have thrown a stone at those people. I'm not proud to, but if you don't understand the problem, if you don't at least confront your own, you can't rise above this and say, oh, how could people do that? The nation was coming down on these people. I have a mental picture of little Lillian Gobitas, 3rd grade, holding on to the pocket of his breeches while the teacher tried to pull his arm up. I just can't imagine being in the 3rd grade and being the only kid who won't salute the flag. And how brave these little kids were, and how reverent and obedient they were to their parents. And we beat up those adults as they came into town to solicit. We hated these people. They knocked on the door in the middle of the morning of Sunday when you're in your bathrobe and trying to read the paper and have a cup of coffee. And the knock on the door drove people crazy. And, the more you look at this, you can see we're at war. Americans are dying in the Pacific, European theater, and these little, wouldn't salute the flag. You cannot overstate the contempt, the loathing that we had for those people. And when the Supremes said, you gotta salute, and expelled kids who wouldn't, over 1,000 injuries, made them drink castor oil in Wheeling, West Virginia, put a rope around their neck, marched them around. The indignities and the brutality. The cops would take part in some of these beatings. And the Supremes took it back 3 years later. And there's so many stories here. They, okay, you don't have to salute. Second. And it was Jackson who made that wonderful flourish. Essentially, he said, as you know, and I get goosebumps with this, if there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in religion, nationalism, politics, or any other matters of opinion, nor may he force to confess by word or act a belief therein. You can't force an American to believe anything. You can't force an American to believe in America or the United States Constitution, which grants the right not to believe in anything. You know, it's fascinating to me it took us so long to encode this. And it was Jackson speaking for the majority in the second case.
We're going to be meeting with Lillian Gobitas Close, 87 years old, who was the young plaintiff, if you will, on this. What do you expect of this? This is your first meeting, and as I've learned from Lillian, that your Donahue show reached out to her many years ago, and she could not make it because her husband had Parkinson's.
Right.
So here we are, 20-some years later, maybe?
Well, it's a big deal for me. You know, she's 2 years older than her little brother, Billy. He wrote a longhand letter, "Why I Don't Salute." You know, and they have it. It exists. That little elementary school hand. And Lillian is an eyewitness to all this. Lillian's parents just about went broke because the Catholic Church in Minersville, Pennsylvania, 90% Catholic, Minersville. And the priests in the pulpit at Mass on Sunday called on their faithful to boycott. Remember, Catholic, America, strong. Boycott these terrible, unpatriotic people. And of course they did, Catholics. And the Gobitas small business, a grocery store. Look, you know, they'd show up for work every day and there were no customers. They were expelled. They had to homeschool. Lillian's going to tell me all about this. I can't wait to hear the story. I think, as you do, that an awful lot of very rich history goes by, and we don't reach back, resurrect it, and look at it, because there's some fabulous drama and wonderful lessons to be learned. Human behavior, and how the masses can be moved, and how we can actually, nice Christian people can, meet the witnesses as they come into town to solicit and beat them up, physically beat them up. Amazing. If this isn't a movie, and I also think there's a Pulitzer out there waiting for somebody to really dig, really put flesh on this. Homeschooling in the attic of somebody's house, afraid to go out on the sidewalk. Here comes Jehovah, here comes Jehovah. We mocked them. They were scum. And I just, I have this mental picture, little Billy Gobitas, and the nation is coming down on him. And he's hanging on to his britches. And, just to think that the Supremes came down from on high, and it took two decisions, and they grabbed this little kid, and they went like this to the nation. Stop right there. And they essentially, Robert Jackson looked over that bench, and he looked at those kids, and he said, this is what the decision means. You obey your parents. I mean, what's American to you? This is just one reason why I'm a proud American. And why I respect the witnesses, not only for their courage, but what they did for all of us. You can't force a person. The Soviet Union said you can't believe in God. Imagine, how do you enforce that? It's like passing a law so you can't think about a pink elephant. There's no way to it. It's just absurd. But it's what religion and faith and messianic attitude and evangelism can do to you. And I think about the school, you know, the van that they all got in to go to do homeschooling, not having any money because of the boycott, and hanging on to the faith. You know, I gotta wonder, how many Catholics, Episcopalians, you know, I mean, there are stories of kids being beaten in the classroom. Little kids, elementary school. Now salute. Beat them again. You salute that flag, you. Kid stood there. What's courage to you? What is moral courage? And what do we expect of kids that age? Oh, well, kids who don't obey, we throw them in a boarding school or some kind of halfway lockup to make. And these kids dissented. And they did so because their parents had instructed them that to offer a salute or some kind of homage to a flag was against their religion. You can, as a witness, you can only offer allegiance to the God King Jehovah. All else are false icons. And that's their faith. And that's their right. You can worship a pet rock if you want to. And no official, high or petty, can tell you that this isn't orthodox. Robert Jackson.